Hi, I'm Nick Palmisano.
And I'm Thomas Hunt.
And this is the Bad News Network. We have a new president. Over the next few years, BNN will most assuredly spend a lot of time weighing and assessing his actions. Hopefully, our assessments will heap lots of praise on him because he's doing a great job. But let's be honest, most likely it'll be full of a lot of criticism because, well, when have politicians ever done a great job? Our goal is always to assess the situation as best we can and give you the closest approximation to the truth. I like to think that we get close most of the time, but as with all people and all organizations, sometimes we miss. And we count on you, the audience, to constantly tell us we're pieces of crap so that we know when we miss. For now, though, even though I know that I will be criticizing the president as early as next week for things like the Keystone Pipeline, the removal of fracking, the economic impact therein, and a host of other things, for now, I would just like to shower him with a little bit of praise. His speech was pitch perfect. I am very well aware that there is a huge difference between actions and words, but man, it's been so long since we've heard the right words that it was just nice to hear something different. And words do matter. When he said that his whole soul was in reconciling America into one nation instead of the two nations that we've allowed politicians and the media to forge us into, I truly believed him. I can't speak for the president, but I know the older that I've gotten, the less I care about what other people think, and the more I care about doing what I believe is the right thing to do. I may be naive, but I truly believe that his goal is to reconcile this country. He's not a young man. He's been in politics for 51 years. He had already left politics and was planning on retirement, and he felt he had to come back for this election. Now he's finally the leader of the party. Now he finally gets to call the shots. And he could have come out of the gate calling any shot he wanted to because the election was so contentious and there are so many people in the Democratic Party that are looking for vengeance, but that is not the shot that he called. In fact, if any of his contemporaries had won this election, they would have absolutely been talking about all of the negative aspects of the Republican Party right now, and their speeches would have been punishment or vengeance-centric. But he didn't tee off on Republicans or the president. Instead, he spent his entire speech talking about rebuilding the country. I personally appreciated it. I get asked a lot why I generally don't get very upset with people that disagree with me, even when we are diametrically opposed. You can look at the comment section of BNN every week and there's somebody calling us cucks or oath breakers or rhinos or snowflakes or conservatives or Trumpers or whatever the hell you want to use as your attack of the week, depending on whether or not we agree with their belief system week in, week out. I generally don't take it personally because I understand that people get very uncomfortable when ideas that they feel strongly about are challenged. It provokes an emotional reaction. Well, I grew up in a house with a dad that was a lot smarter than I am, a mom that was a lot smarter than I am, and a little brother that was a lot smarter than I am. And actually, he's not that little. He's got like 5 inches on me. I have 2 very political godfathers that also are a lot smarter than I am that used to come over routinely and sit around the kitchen table and argue politics. And that's to say nothing for the 5 aunts and uncles I have on each side of my family. In fact, every day there was somebody new sitting at our kitchen table, and as the meal finished, they would spend hours discussing politics and the world and what should be different. And the level of conversation would go from very mellow to very heated, up and down. You're talking about Italians and Portuguese people. Things get very intense. Some of my family members are very conservative. Some of my family members are very, very liberal. But yet, at the end of every meal, no matter how heated the conversation got, the family got up, hugged, and everybody went home friends. But you couldn't come to that table with an emotional outburst because you would get eaten alive. So I learned the hard way that you had to back up any assertion you were going to make with logic, with facts, with data, and even when you did that, sometimes you'd be wrong and you'd have to change your mind about something or be stubborn, in which case you'd get made fun of. But no matter how intense these arguments got, no matter how much people fought, no matter who was screaming at who over the table, at the end of it, we were all friends, we were all family, and there was a respect. Because the conversations over that kitchen table were an exchange of ideas. They were not a test of character. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but good and bad are not the exclusive province of one party. In fact, time and time again, we see that it's a pretty equal distribution across both. And I'm cautiously optimistic that under President Biden's leadership, we're going to get a little closer to leaving that kitchen table every day as friends and family instead of bitter rivals. But as you thankless motherfuckers like to remind us every week, we've been wrong before. So I'm fully prepared to eat crow, but I hope that's not the case. God bless America.
It did not take the new president long to start firing off executive orders. Many of these orders are aimed at the legacy of the Trump administration. Here's a quick list of 17 executive orders that Biden passed and signed day one. Number 1, launch a 100-day mask challenge. Number 2, stop the U.S. withdrawal from the World Health Organization. Number 3, create a position for a COVID-19 response coordinator. Number 4, extend a moratorium on evictions until March 31st. Number 5, extend a pause on student loans. Number 6, rejoin the Paris Climate Accords. Number 7, cancel the Keystone XL pipeline. Number 8, rescind the 1776 Trump Administration Commission. Number 9, legislation to prevent workplace discrimination. Number 10, require non-citizens to be in the census. Number 11, fortify DACA. Number 12, reverse policy on Trump's U.S. entry restrictions. Number 13, undo Trump's campaign of immigration enforcement. Number 14, halt construction on the U.S.-Mexico border wall. Number 15, extend deferrals for work authorization and deportation. Number 16, all executive branch appointees must sign an ethics pledge. And finally, number 17, undo Trump's regulatory process by hiring an OMB director. And that's just day one. Stay tuned for next week's episode of America 2021. It's only gonna get crazier.
This week, Vladimir Putin did the most Russian thing possible. No, he didn't poison his political rival this week. That was a couple weeks ago. He dunked himself into ice-cold water. He did what they call the Epiphany dip, which is a Christian holiday that is celebrated in Eastern Europe. The dip represents boosting your immune system and cleansing yourself of sins. Sins such as poisoning your political rival twice and then arresting him when he came home. Since this dip is also supposed to improve your immune system, the Russian government is now providing 3 dips per person rather than a COVID vaccine. All I can say is that 2021 is already starting off iffy, and seeing Vladimir Putin in his undies is probably not a great way to start, and also I'm better at judo than he is.
Amazon has reached out to the Biden administration to help roll out COVID vaccines. That's right, Amazon, the same company that you can go to buy a pillow with Nicolas Cage's face on it. Or a pre-made tinfoil hat. Anyways, they've pledged themselves to vaccinating the country. While it's nice to see Amazon stepping up to the plate for the greater good, it's interesting that they waited until Biden was sitting in the Oval Office. I understand having different political views and not wanting to help out certain politicians, but when it comes to the betterment of society, it's a pretty selfish wait. Amazon did not respond to questions about why they waited, even though we asked really, really nicely. The Biden administration has set a goal for themselves to get out 100 million doses in the first 100 days of his presidency. As of now, there have been about 55 million doses given out to Americans. Let's get excited, people! Now, when you make an order on Amazon of a value of over $29.99, you get a free COVID vaccine with it. Unfortunately, the only person authorized to give you this vaccine is an underpaid Amazon delivery driver, who is really pissed at you for making him deliver that extremely heavy curio cabinet and that blow-up sex doll for next-day delivery.
On his way out of the office, President Trump provided over 100 pardons. In context, this is actually vastly lower than the last few presidents have issued. Nevertheless, President Trump's list was perhaps a little more interesting, issuing pardons for Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, and Steve Bannon. A name, however, that did not appear was Joe Exotic. For some reason, Mr. Exotic fully expected to get a pardon and had even hired a 22-foot stretch limousine to pick him up at prison. Joe was imprisoned for 22 years for various animal rights violations, as well as hiring a hitman to kill that Carol Baskin. This is going to put our plans for Tiger King 2 in jeopardy.
Serving 10 months in quarantine certainly has some people ready to return to normal society. This week, an Oklahoma lawmaker came up with a very interesting bill. It would allow for the hunting and license selling for the world's most elusive creature, Bigfoot. Republican Justin Humphrey is either really bored with his career right now, or he's finally at a place in his career where he can look back to his childhood fantasy in capturing Harry Houdini. With all these different reform bills going around with COVID-19, it's good to see that some politicians are going after what's really important. Currently, the bill does not allow you to kill Bigfoot, you're just allowed to hunt and capture him. Part of the bill also suggests that a bounty of $25 grand should be given to the person if they are able to capture him. As much of a joke as this sounds, Humphrey says he's doing it to bring more tourism to the town, so that they can enjoy the nature and beauty of Oklahoma while hunting down the missing link. To which the commission said, "Oh, that's cute, but no." Unfortunately for Humphrey, he doesn't have the best track record when it comes to getting laws past legislation. In 2017, he tried to pass a bill to make it illegal for women to get an abortion without the man's consent. He also referred that the women should be called hosts. Yikes. Looks like as long as Bigfoot is in Oklahoma, he'll still be safe there for the time being. A spokesperson for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department was quoted in saying, "If Bigfoot did exist and he wasn't human, it would be legal to kill him. Yeehaw!"
The shitstorm from the Capitol Hill riots continues to pour down on us. No matter why you were there, the government is coming for you. No matter why you were there, whether you were just part of the crowd or whether you went in there with zip strips and pipe bombs, or whether you walked out with a pedestal owned by the speaker, the government is coming for you. This week, Riley June Williams was charged with unlawfully breaching the Capitol building and disorderly conduct. Seems pretty normal, right? But wait, there's more! Riley didn't just break into the Capitol building, she actually stole Speaker Pelosi's laptop and tried to sell it to the Russians! So look, I understand there's a lot of different opinions about these things, and I have a hard time with people calling themselves patriots storming into the Capitol building. I have a hard time with people that call themselves patriots walking out with a bunch of equipment, taking stupid pictures. Like, I have a hard time with that. But it's at the edge of what I can understand. Like, if you truly believe, incorrectly, but if you truly believe that these people have stolen the election, then I understand at least going in there, even though it's really stupid and not going to help anybody. I at least understand it, but there is no part of being a patriot that involves selling our information to the Russians, a clear enemy of the United States. So you can just stop pretending you're a patriot at that point. Oddly, the Russians turned the laptop back in because apparently it was filled with Donald Trump nudes.
Well, it looks like the NRA is moving to Texas. Last week, the National Rifle Association filed for bankruptcy. I know when a lot of people hear this word, they think, man, that organization must not have any money. But that's not actually the case at all. The NRA filed Chapter 11, actually, so that they could get out of a lawsuit that was filed by a New York State Attorney General. They were originally sued back in August by Letitia James. Letitia initially accused the NRA of diverting millions of dollars of funds to feed a luxurious lifestyle. Cool vacations, nice cars, you know, the normal swaggy rich people shit. There are also rumors that the NRA may have bought an employee's silence for 3 years to the tune of $60 million. So what's the NRA gonna do about it? Like every gun-toting, freedom-loving, red, white, and blue American, they're moving to Texas. A statement from the NRA said there will be no immediate changes in any of their operations as they make this move, and they are as financially strong as they have ever been. In other words, fuck you, we're getting back to business. Honestly, I don't care how many Lamborghinis the executives of the NRA are buying for themselves. I just want ammunition to be at a reasonable price.
On Wednesday night, a helicopter carrying 3 National Guard soldiers crashed, killing everyone on board. The aircraft, a UH-60 Black Hawk, was on a medical training mission and was found in flames by rescuers. The soldiers on the scene immediately went into life-saving mode, trying to save everyone on the aircraft as well as any civilians that might have been hurt by the carnage. Currently, the investigation is ongoing, and as more details come out, we'll let you know what happened. But for now, fair winds to those soldiers.
Move over, Joe Exotic. There's a more eccentric and weird zoo owner in town. And of course, this zoo and man is in Florida. Jimmy Wayne Hammonds, also known to his friends as the Monkey Whisperer, was charged for selling and transporting primates. One of the primates he was selling was also considered an endangered species. If there's one thing I could say about Florida men up to this point is that they will find any job they can that is not a normal 9 to 5 to make ends meet. Your hustle is unbeatable, Florida man. If only you put that skill to something more productive and legal, then it wouldn't be such an Wild West swamp state like it is. Hammonds has owned and operated the Monkey Whisperer LLC, a business that engaged in the breeding and selling of wildlife. He transported a capuchin monkey illegally into California, and he sold an endangered cotton-top tamarin. I don't know where he got these animals from, but just get a dog, leave the primates in the jungle. Currently, he's backed against the wall with a litany of charges. These include witness tampering, violations of the Endangered Species Act, and trafficking. Look, I know monkeys are cool. They can do human stuff, dance, even pick up their own poop. But once these things learn how to talk, shit's gonna get real quick. You've seen the movies.
He finally really did it. You maniac!
In more news that makes me question everything about China, 3 samples of ice cream from China have been found to have COVID in them. Out of all the toppings and flavors of ice cream, COVID, I'd have to say, would be at the bottom of my choice list. But it's China, so what are you gonna do? Samples of chocolate, strawberry, and even taro-flavored ice cream were taken from a company in Tianjin. This company is known for making delicious cakes, ice creams, and other desserts. After the samples came back positive for COVID, the factory was shut down and over 1,000 employees were put in quarantine. And now the Chinese government is trying to save face by tracking down the 400 gallons of ice cream that already left that factory. I know that sounds a little crazy, but don't stop Ben & Jerry just yet. Scientists were also surprised that the COVID virus could survive in such a cold and harsh environment as like in ice cream in a freezer. Which probably means that there were no safety precautions whatsoever being followed in this factory to begin with. Surprise! So far, this looks like one accident, but give it a week or so and I bet we'll have another COVID accident coming from China. It's okay, I guess, that they're just practicing bad safety habits and not being malicious. Unless...
My name is Joe Biden. I love ice cream.
No! In other related Florida man news, this week a Florida man decided to stop being nice and start to get really real. Florida native Shane Gillis, not to be confused with the comedian Shane Gillis, was arrested for threatening his ex-boss with one of the deadliest weapons of all time, a can of Twisted Tea. You guys know how hard those things hit. One minute, you're buying cigarettes and extra small condoms while yelling racial slurs, and the next minute, you're memed out of oblivion. Shane wasn't too happy that his working relationship ended up with his previous employer, so he started making threatening phone calls before actually showing up in person and threatening him. Hey Shane, here's a pro tip. If you're planning on kicking somebody's ass, then don't call them and be like, "Hey bud, just wanted to call and let you know I'm about 10 minutes out from destroying your ass with a Twisted Tea." This gives your target plenty of time to prepare. While Shane arrived for an ass whooping, deputies were there instead to put him in handcuffs and arrest him. Like a true Florida man, even as Shane was being escorted and pushed into the police cruiser, he was continuing to threaten his would-be victim. As we continue to go through 2021, we are going to have to ask ourselves some hard questions, such as, did the Twisted Tea do this to us, or did we do this to the Twisted Tea? And with that, I'm Thomas Hunt.
I'm Nick Palmashano.
And this is the Bad News Network. Our news is at least as bad as the news you're getting already, and I have no idea what 2021 is going to bring, but I hope it means that we can all be back out of our houses so we stop smelling so bad. Don't forget, you can use the code BNN at any time to get 25% off your entire order at rangerup.com. And if you would like to follow Nick and Matt, you can visit them at their OnlyFans, Nick and Matt. Have an excellent weekend.